When did you first become involved with APFO or C8?
I was first aware of it prior to 1977, knowing that perfluorinated materials had been found in human blood.
At first, 3M and DuPont were checking to see the contamination levels of their workers. And so naturally, they needed a control. They needed to compare those workers' blood levels of C8 with the population so they could see what the difference was. So they started going to archived blood supplies and checking to see what clean blood versus the blood of their workers might look like. There was no clean blood. They tested kids, they tested adults, they went to Asia, they went all over the world, and everywhere they looked practically, they found their chemicals in people's blood. Eventually, they did find some clean blood. It turned out it was the blood that had been taken from Army recruits and archived, saved, at the start of the Korean War. That blood was clean because the Teflon chemicals weren't out into the environment at that point. The main sources of exposure are still something of a mystery. The likely culprits, though, are industrial waste and the consumer products that shed this material over time. Today, every baby, probably on the planet, but certainly in the developed world, where all of these chemicals are widely used, every baby is born with at least some level of C8, of PFOS and PFOA in their blood. That's the essence of exposure, lifelong exposure, and it's involuntary. No one said, hey, you know, I'm good with a little Teflon chemical in my baby's blood. No one said that. They said, I love these pans. We think of these chemicals as associated with 3M and DuPont, but they also had sold them to other companies that manufactured consumer products, manufacturing products. It was used in airplanes and cars, on and on. The applications were endless.
Workers are now using Teflon to rust-proof the inside of the Statue of Liberty.
They found that these chemicals could bond to paper products to make food wraps, grease-proof wraps, cookie bags. One of the largest companies had patents for making popcorn bags.
Thousands of facilities, including the furniture store down the street that sprayed a nonstick chemical on your couch to keep stains off. All of those places became environmental contamination sites.
And today, a product that you'll find Teflon is in clothing and things. Gore-Tex is the brand name. These apparently are...
And then you realize that companies in Asia and in Europe were starting to make these chemicals as well.
Teflon PDF die Beschichtung aus?
本物のテフロンにはこのシール。
This crisis had been growing for decades.
I think with a chemical that potentially is biopersistent, you pay particularly close attention to it.
Bioaccumulation, biopersistence, those are fancy words for it.
What do you mean by biopersistent?
When you die and they bury you, you're going to have it in your blood.
C8 seem to have a long half-life in humans.
Sunlight doesn't break them down. Microbes don't break them down. Heat doesn't break them down. Nothing breaks them down.
They called this fluorine chemical the devil's piss. It was so potent.
Once it gets into your system, it remains in your blood.
My gut tells me the biopersistence issue will kill us because of an overwhelming public attitude that anything that is biopersistent is harmful.
And so naturally, these Teflon and Scotchgard chemicals permeated the living world. We didn't know it at the time, but the evidence showed that 3M and DuPont, they knew all about it.
products. There was a manufacturer up in the Midwest who called and said, we want you to come over here and look at this. We're heating up this Teflon, and we heard this pounding noise on the roof. It sounded like a hailstorm. It was a flock of birds. As they were flying over where the vent was, they just dropped out of the sky.